Today I'm taking a break. I'm starting at sunny Hayfield. This is a mental health break and I absolutely need it. So many things have gone wrong. One problem though, whenever I take a trip like this, everybody starts getting really nervous that maybe I might not come home again. And this takes me back quite some time. I lost my brother more than a decade ago, and to be honest, I've lost track of time. I lost my brother to his own hand, and a lot of people are worried that the same thing might happen to me. And it is very uncommon for somebody in my position to speak up about how they feel when they get to a situation like that. And in fact, some time ago, in the process of dealing with that, I actually did a documentary called Be a Man, and it's about society's pressure to basically get people to man up, particularly men. And I've really needed to redo that, and I got thinking, I decided I'm going to retrace my footsteps. I filmed that at a hut called Lloyd's Hut in the Victorian High Country, and my brother would stay there on the regular, and I have some video clips of him there, and that's pretty much the place where I consider he was last happy before everything happened. And so I've never actually spent a night there. I've been there a few times but never spent the night. So in his honor, I'm bringing the four-wheeler, and I have loosely prepared the same way he would have, by throwing a bunch of random stuff in the back, and we're going to go and do it the way he would, without the six-wheeler, just the four-wheeler today. I'm not taking the ambulance and all the posh stuff. Take a small generator. We'll show you all about that, and we'll have a chat along the way. All right, and we are officially here. Mixed emotions right now, shaky legs. Now I have multiple sclerosis. This sort of endurance does make it a little bit more difficult. Certainly a lot easier in the four-wheeler than it would be with a six-wheeler. I had various ideas on how to get here in the past, and the gear I'd bring and everything, but it's just simply not possible. Well, technically it would be, but logistically not worth the effort. There's been a bit of work up here, there's new fencing, there's a lot has changed since I last here. That river crossing is a lot more rocky than it was. I had to get down into low range first. Anyway, before I yak too much, I need to hydrate, sit a minute, let the legs settle, and then we can get into the rest of the filming. Alright, we've got one fluoro light, two fluoro lights. I don't know if we have much on the outside around here. Let's have a look. Nothing here. That one looks like it's meant to be plugged in. There's nothing up there, so looks like somebody's tried to snap it off or something. There is power out to this somehow. I can't remember exactly how. Let's go inside, see if the lights inside work. Lights inside work. Or the fluoro. Alright, that's good. We have lights. Turn off outside, veranda, inside the shower. Nothing inside the shower works. The toilet light. I guess we'll go have a look. Alright. So it does not appear to be a light in the toilet. No. So we'll be taking portable light if I do. Alright. Alright, so no phone signal out here at all, but the radio works surprisingly well. The other thing we've got is signal here, which I think that's finished sending messages. I'm going to let it go so that everybody knows I've pulled up safe. Alright, bucket of river water. Now, while the water looks crystal clear, you can still get things like giardia in this, and I've had that before. I don't like crapping for 4 days straight, so this is just for wash. And we have sitting here a block of soap and all the rest. We're going to put a little bit of soap in here just to start with. I'm going to wash my hands off. Soap should help knock down the bacteria in the water. That way I don't use my good drinking water. In the spirit of my brother, we're going to live off a military ration pack. This one I'd stole the spoon out of a while ago. I do have one with me, but otherwise everything's untouched. This is the emergency pack in my 4B. If I get stuck in a place like this, this is what I'm going to be surviving on. I do have an FRH, a flameless ration heater as well. We'll make use of that. I do have a couple other backup items, but yeah, this is what I'm going to try and stay off. This is good for 24 hours. For a bloke my size, it's exactly enough. Right now, I'm just looking for a snack. So, and thanks for Rob Herbert from R&N Babes. I met him at the gun show about a year or two back. He sold me this really nice knife. It's an absolutely magically sharp knife. And not paid to sponsor him. I paid close to 300 bucks for that. But worth every cent. It's a wonderful knife. Only time to stop. Now, true to form, like my brother would have done, I left my kidney cups at home in the canteen, so that'll change how things works a bit. But now you always got to improvise with these things, including getting these things open. They've changed the way these are. All right. Always have a knife on you. Food time. It's been a long time since I've had time to sit down and be alone with my thoughts. Typically, to emotionally regulate properly, I need this about once a month. there has been so many dramas going on that are so close to home and very similar to the events that inspired my brother to leave this world. It's been extremely stressful. I'm probably going to lose my composure later tonight, and you'll understand if I don't film that. I never made it up here with the four-wheeler when my brother was around. He passed away not long after I got that, and I would have loved to have come up here with him with it, but it's some things you can't do anything about. I guess the whole goal of this video is to try and encourage people to speak up, and sometimes it can be the hardest thing, especially if, as society would have it be, a man shows weakness and the world will descend on them, and sometimes the hardest people on you are the people that are closest to you. It's been extremely hard for me. I had to speak up a while ago, and I had to go and seek a professional. I needed somebody outside, and it took a couple of different professionals before I found one that actually was a good fit. But guys, one thing I have learnt is going through all of this stuff is at your darkest time you lose sight that there is actually light at the end of the tunnel. You know, a couple of months or a couple of weeks or even tomorrow morning, things might seem totally different and you might be able to cope with it. But right now, you lose complete sight of everything. And I've been in situations where all you can do is just limp or crawl into the nearest person you can help and just lay down and go to sleep around somebody else. Sometimes you need to be away from everybody. You just got to do what you got to do. Now this video is completely unscripted. I didn't write anything down. I just come out as usual with the general concept of what I wanted to film. Much of this is very hard to articulate, and I'm trying to do as best I can. But sometimes it takes a lot to convey a very simple concept, which is just speak up. Obviously choose the right person, but speak up. Things with my brother could have turned out better. They could have turned out a lot worse too. And I'm conflicted about that. In my previous documentary I did about this, I never really spoke about the reasons or what actually happened, and I'm still not going to. Safest to say, our legal system did not do its job. Our legal system targeted and was weaponized to essentially bully somebody into the worst point of their life. And I've seen some overzealous members of the authorities do similar things. They get so fixated on a conviction that they lose track of justice. They lose track of the truth, and they care nothing but for the conviction. And whether that be a result of the way our police force is set up in this state or in this country, that they are unreasonably incentivized to get convictions. I'm not sure what it was, or maybe there's corruption. I can really only speculate, but something is not right with the system. 100%, if somebody has committed a crime, they should absolutely meet justice for it. But conviction and justice can be two different things sometimes. And all I'm asking for is some of these people to slow down, look at the paperwork, look at the evidence, and take a couple of seconds to absorb it before they act on things. Come in a little bit better prepared. If you're a police officer, or if you've been a police officer, I've got to remind you of the things we learned in the military, which was the 5 Ps. Prior preparation prevents piss poor performance. If you come in prepared properly and prior to your arrival, you're going to perform much better. If it's a conviction you are seeking and you prepare ahead of time, you will get your conviction much more reliably. And you're likely to not convict the wrong person. I need not explain what convicting the wrong person can do to somebody's career. I guess it's just my autistic mind with, as they say, autistic people often have a very strong sense of justice, and I am seeing the rules incorrectly applied. And at the same time, I am seeing a lot of men in situations where they've got nowhere to turn. On my past documentary, I've had a lot of comments. I've had some women chime in and say that, you know, a lot of the time the women are the ones that hold them together. And I agree, that is the case. But there's a lot of times where the women don't. Or there's a lot of times where I've had some short-sighted comments that illustrate the problem. People are basically uncaring to a man showing weakness of any kind. While they say, oh no, we're not telling him to man up, they say it in different words. Society does put a lot of pressure, and society puts a lot of pressure on men to provide and to protect. But I've been married around about 13 years now, and it's a two-way street. We work as a team, we work as a pair, we are equals. Our whole wedding was set up not as to somebody to give away a bride to a groom, as we come of our own equal willingness. We represent ourselves, and we very much represent that in a relationship. We look after each other. We do the same things for each other. If one is getting the raw end of the stick, the other will go into bat for them. And there are some things a woman can do that a man can't legally, and vice versa. These are all random thoughts floating through my head at the moment. But there's the discussions that I don't necessarily want to have myself in the comments, but the discussions that I'd like people, particularly lawmakers, to stop and have a think about. And for people, perhaps lawmakers or people in charge of legislation that might be responsible for mental health, consider that men do have much of the same needs that women have. That's not a huge disconnect. It's also entirely and 100% possible for a man to be a victim of domestic violence too. I'm not saying that discounts, and it's not meant to cast doubt on a woman receiving domestic violence. That is very much a problem. But the problem is not gender specific. It exists across all walks of life. And if you really want true equality, we have to leave gender behind. We're all in it together. Now, there was roughly 9 years age difference between myself and my brother. I'm now officially older than my brother was when he was here. Around about that age difference, when I got to the same age he was, things were incredibly stressful. That worried my family a great deal. I can understand their concern. I'm not sure how I lived through the same stresses or the stresses that have come after it. One of the things I do know, though, is I had to fall back to my basic learning, which was, I know that even if I can't see it, there is very much often light at the end of the tunnel. And sometimes when people give you advice or people say things to you and it sounds hollow or it sounds like they don't know what they're talking about, sometimes you have to actually listen. And it might not make sense, it might not feel right. But if these are people you've trusted your whole life, and they give you a piece of advice that logically you know is correct, but emotionally seems wrong, follow your logic and listen to them. Bed for the night. Download the day's footage, plug in all the GoPros and the cameras and stuff. I'm going to go uphill with the chainsaw so I don't have to carry the timber uphill. I can throw it downhill. While we're here, we're going to have a quick look at the hot water service. This has got like a lid off a toilet cistern, just to create a header, and that feeds from water tanks further up there. Alright, a bit breathless. Hot is down there. These are your water tanks here. So you can very easily be a considerate person and put some water in them. Now this is also Army Road, and I'm not sure if you can tell by the angle of the trees here. It's an extremely steep track. If you follow Google Maps here, it'll try and bring you down that track. Unless you know what you're doing, I don't advise you take it. In fact, the track I came in is fairly G-rated, relatively speaking, but it's still a challenge. I'm certainly glad I wore decent boots. I definitely need the wrist protection of these things, or the ankle protection rather, because it is steep, rocky, very easy to roll an ankle. My English is starting to go, I'm getting tired. Now the other thing to be wary of up here, there's unmarked mine shafts everywhere here. Lloyd's hut was a mining hut, and there's all sorts around. I think I walked down there with the drone before, following me. That's a blue wren across the road, little blue wren. Anyway, walking down there are a couple of holes that were parts of old mine shafts that have either collapsed or been filled in, and there's one that actually runs under the road we're standing on right now too. So you have to be careful where you walk. Alright, the result of a little bit of emu bobbing, and I've got an old Macca's pag in there to get things going. There's a bit of lichen there as well. Either way, I think it'll be alright. That one will probably go and burn overnight. I didn't cut the tail off that because it was going to kill the saw. It's full of ants and all sorts of junk. That junk cut off nicely. So we should have a little bit of a fire. Once it starts to get a little bit darker, I'll get it going. And I'll just try and keep it low and smaller. And those two chunks should be the overnighters. Now, often there's little things you don't think about until that happens. Like Land Rovers having notoriously bad handbrakes. So sometimes you just do a couple of little things that'll help. Alright, it's starting to get dark now. Guess I'm going to light the fire, which means I'm going to turn the outside lights on. Is that the right ones? Side shower, I think that's the outside one. Yes, it's the outside one. Okay. Now I need a gift my lovely financial manager gave me. A little wolf lighter. There's a trick that was told to me and I wanted to try for years. Take a potato chip. Apparently they burn pretty well because there's lots of oil in them. What do you know, they burn like a firelighter. Well, potato chip for the win. Nifty idea. It might be time for the time lapse. Alright, it is a cold night So we are needing a little bit more heat, plus I added a bit of cold water in here. We need to flip over our retort pouch to avoid cold spots. There we go. Although she won't be far off being ready. Although I did bring an extra pack of hexi tabs. Right. Dinner under torchlight. Hopefully the battery lasts long enough. Now I'm going to rip the top off these. These are rip-off tops, but once they're hot, they don't rip well. Alright. Good. The beef is properly hot. That's good. Oh, perfect eating temperature. Alright, I'm going to get into this and I'll see you later. Now, smashed spud is almost still too hot to eat. One thing you can do though is you can add cold water to it and mix it up and throw the both of them in the FRH with a heater pack between them, and you will get both at once heated. I thought I'd mention that. Alright, so it's 3 AM. Things got very cold in here. A little bit more than I expected, so I had to get additional bedding. I did get up, light the fire again, made myself a couple of hot water bottles. I'm attempting to move the fire in here now. I did relight the fire. Had I stopped to think about this, I probably would have used my timber in here, but went for a quick scavenge in the dark, found some more. See how this works. If worst or best case, it should take some of the chill off. I'm also hungry. Might get the gas stove here, might make a hot drink. Maybe the hot chocolate or something. Alright, hot chocolate time. Alright, that's worth it. Alright, so it's morning. I fell asleep with the generator running. There's loads of fuel in there, but I do need to run the fuel down in it anyway. So, time for another fire. A few embers from yesterday, yeah. See if we can get things going. Stuff's pretty dry out here. I'll get a little dry. And we'll open that up. We'll let it go now. Alright, so I've got the problem with the drone noise in the background. Do a last minute walk around. Gonna go up the top, make sure we didn't miss anything. If this audio sounds funny, it's because I've tried to cancel the drone footage. Not my idea of fun. Alright, go back down, have a look. Oh, the drone lost me. Hello drone, I'm over here. Hello, I'm up here. Alright, come on, land then. Alright, so it is important to mention that while it might seem like I'm happy and I've got loads of energy, I'm actually masking. There's something to watch out with people that are experiencing depression or are at risk of certain things, that what they appear on the outside may be far from the truth. I'm in fact quite emotional about being here and very conflicted. In some ways it's helpful, in other ways it's slightly re-traumatizing. Also, I had a bit of a rough night's sleep because of the stretcher being a little bit narrow. So yeah, I just realised there's a big LED floodlight up there. I didn't find the switch for that. That would have been nice. But yes, sometimes you do have to be careful. People can pick up and be happy and seem okay and say they're okay. And some of that, I can tell you from personal experience, is a case of not wanting people to get involved, or rather the people that want to get involved are sometimes the ones that aren't going to help. And sometimes that can be difficult as somebody who is, if you're trying to help somebody that's in this situation, sometimes you might not be the one that'll help them. Maybe you need to find them somebody else. And that can be difficult to accept. Some people that, I've had situations where people are so insistent on helping, they won't leave me alone. They'll follow me anywhere, and they prevent me from emotionally regulating and helping get through these things. So everybody handles this different. And you need to know the person you're helping, or at least find somebody that does. There's so many different thoughts in my head, and these have all been thrown out like, and we have a phrase, my wife and I, we have a phrase, we say bucket of words. We just give that precursor and we dump everything on the table, verbally of course, and make sense of it after the fact. And that's kind of what I'm doing here. I'm throwing lots of words out, and I'll make sense of them in post, or maybe not, I don't know. That's also why I talk leaving a number of gaps. It allows me the opportunity that I can cut things when I go, actually that sentence doesn't really fit in. Now, while I've been walking around here, I've been having a look. I've been leaving things as they were, if not a little bit better. The generator is actually off, the cord's hung up properly. We're all good actually. That cord is hanging out in the weather. Actually, that hook is where it should be. It keeps it out of the rain. Okay. Little things like that make a difference. Nothing like a corroded power plug. Something else I missed. The water jerry's not strapped in. So I need to strap that in a bit. Alright. Anyway, that's pretty much it. The fire is pretty much burnt out. I'm just hanging around till that burns out before we take off. Anyway, I'll see you on the road.
Good afternoon people, and welcome. Have a look at this for a stunning day. Barely a cloud in the sky. And I'm not at home at the moment, as one can tell. Anybody who's been here will recognise this straight away and go, yep, we know where you're at. So yeah, quite a distance from home at the moment, but what I wanted to show you is this little setup that I did a quick video on. and it didn't seem to work out too well, so here it is. And my Makita radio modified. Now this has if it'll show up, yep, there we go, 12 volt 33 amp hour deep cycle battery in it, and this is a 50 cal ammo box. Now what we have in there is the charging regulator. We have fuse holder, takes 5 AG fuses, big chunky ones because they're easy to handle when it's cold and dark. We have a driving light relay, and we have output terminals, and we have in there a 12 volt sig lighter socket which is currently unutilised, and a double USB port. Excuse me. On the front we have XLR audio socket. I use that for my input charge socket. Reason being is because they don't pull out, because you've got this lock button here, and they're fairly sturdy, and because you can get them in a right angle so they don't get knocked over so easily. Now, the sun's in the a different direction. You can actually see a bit better in here now without having to use the torch. I'll give you a better idea of what the hut's like. And the roof's black from all the smoke from the fire. Oh yeah. My nighttime food prep area. Because I ain't going to be out there of a night time trying to prep food. It's too damn cold. Now, I'll give you some idea. This is one of the lights I got off eBay. And one of the floppy drive magnets that Dave gave me. Pop riveted one of these lights to it. Now they draw stuff all current. Now I was running one of them and my radio all night last night, without the solar panel obviously, but yeah. So I sat the box here and hooked my lights up to it, and yeah, I just left the radio going. The radio parked on the table here, ran the cord across the floor up to the box, and one of my lights all night. Started off with 12.8 volts, or 12.85. Come out this morning at about 8 o'clock when the sun was in the right spot to begin charging, and the battery volts had dropped to, I think, 12.5. And you're just walking back from Store Point Hut. And we've got Lloyd's hut just up there where I've been staying. I spotted this. It's here. There's a mine shaft in under here. And I don't know where it goes, whether it goes horizontally or vertically. But I'm not about to climb in there and find out. But yeah, those fellas that just met up with, they're going to stay at Store Point rather than here. I think they had a good chat to them, they're nice blokes. But yeah, they said they're going to be drinking and partying on a bit and making a bit of noise. I said they didn't really want to disturb me or be a nuisance to me, which is fair enough, it's good of them. But yeah, so but they have invited me back down to their hut for drinks later, which I reckon I might even take them up on the offer. Put my solar panel back up.